Hey everybody, I wanted to take a moment to talk to you about something that I've heard this comment many times over the last few years. And it's something that, especially since I have started this channel, I've had friends reach out to me and whatnot, that have talked about how basically, everybody, not everybody, but there's a lot of people that talk about what should happen if SHTF happens. And if you don't know what that acronym is, look it up. But there's a lot of people who have the response that if SHTF happens, then they're just going to go out in the woods and like shoot some deer and live off the land and blah, blah, blah. And that's one of those things. And I think the reason I actually even thought about talking about this right now is because it is a comment that I've had several of my friends say that their husbands have had this reaction. And then also I've just walked probably about over a mile today working on the sheep, doing stuff with sheep and everything else. And, put in a lot of hard work today. And I guess it made me realize how many people have a little of an idea of what it actually takes to survive off the land. And it's one of those things that you'll hear a lot of people talk about in respect to the fact that, if SHTF happens, they're not leaving their home. They're not leaving their comfy job. They're not leaving the city. They're not leaving whatever. And for whatever reason, and if this happens, if, things go sideways, they're just going to go out into the wilderness and get their food off the land. And here's the thing. There's a lot of things in the land that can kill you. Like, there's a lot of mushrooms and flowers and plants and berries and everything like that that can actually end your life, and very quickly. So it's one of those things that if you're going to live off the land, you actually have to have knowledge of what the land is actually like in your area, and what vegetables, plants, whatever kind of wild forage you have in the area is actually sustainable and something that you can live off of. I remember a story one time of this man from, I believe it was Michigan, went to Disney in Florida and picked some China berries off the tree, and China berries are heavily toxic. Picked them, went back home to Michigan, ate them. It was somewhere northern. It wasn't southern. It was somewhere northern. It may not have been Michigan. But basically went back up north, ate the China berries, and died. And it was a big thing in Florida because, like, everybody in Florida is like, why would you eat the China berries? Like, that'll kill you, kind of things. But to him, it looked like this really pretty tree with red berries on it, or a big bush. However Disney had it, cut. It looked like something real pretty to him with red berries on it. And so he ate it, and then he died. And that's one of the things that when you're living off the land or you're out doing wild forage and things like that, you can't live off of necessarily meat alone. You're not necessarily going to have an abundance of deer or whatever other wild animals to kill. Also, if you think about that too, so you go out and you hunt a deer, you're out and living in the wilderness, and what kind of refrigeration are you going to have? I can promise you that your whole family is not going to eat one deer in a day. Do you know how to store that meat if you're out in the wild so that it lasts a few days longer, things like that. And so it's one of those things that you can't expect to just live off the wild, especially if you have no idea what the heck you're doing. There are people who are professional hunters, people who are professional foragers and things like that, that even then, like, they wouldn't necessarily have the means to live off the land forever. And that's the thing. Sorry, my 3-year-old just came up. But that's one of the things that if you're actually truly living off the land, there's a lot of work that goes into that, because guess what? If everybody else and their brother has the mindset of they're just going to go out into the woods and shoot a deer, your deer population is going to dwindle real fast. And also the likelihood of you actually getting a deer. I have plenty of family members who hunt, and they come back from plenty of hunts without any deer whatsoever. And it's not something that you are guaranteed to get. You also have to know where the deer are roaming, where their paths are, their game trails, everything like that. There's a lot that goes into hunting, and it's not just going out in the woods and finding a deer or finding a pig or finding whatever, a rabbit or something like that. And so it's one of those things you have to think about that especially when you have a family, you have a responsibility to keep your family safe and keep them taken care of. And so it shouldn't be something that you're relying on. Like, if you know things are bad and things are not going well in the area that you're living in, you shouldn't just be relying on I'll just go out in the woods and kill something, you know, or something like that. If you have kids, that's a horrible idea. I'm not even gonna like sugarcoat that. That is an absolutely horrible idea. If you have children and your philosophy is, oh, if things go bad, we'll just go out and hunt, because I can promise you that it won't happen. It won't happen as often as you'd like it to. Well, it will happen. You'll eventually kill a deer or something like that. But it's not going to happen as often as you would like it to. And your kids are going to be hungry. Your wife's going to be hungry. You're going to be hungry and everything else. And so that's one of the things you have to think about. Homesteading takes a lot of work. Now, you can make some systems to where they are less work, you know, like we have container gardening this year, and we plan on doing like a wicking bed style to help keep the plants watered without me having to do a ton of heavy lifting of water buckets and everything like that. We have sheep. We do rotational grazing, but guess what? It still takes a lot of work to get the sheep butchered and everything else. And then it's still, again, you have to have somewhere to store said sheep. Like, if you have no refrigeration, you're going to have to know how to take care of the sheep meat so that you can, you know, turn it into biltong, or sorry, I just thought of it. And, or, you know, jerky or something like that, that will actually last for an extended period of time. Because even then, you know, even if our freezer just breaks or something like that, we have to figure out a way to keep this stuff frozen, or at least cold, if we don't, you know, if just a fridge breaks or something like that. So it's one of those things, guys, that when you are thinking about the way the world's going, or thinking about the way the world is in your area, and I have no idea where you're at, but if you're living in an area where you can see that it's not great, that people are acting kind of crazy or whatnot, or there's different shortages of whatever, don't take the mindset of, I'm just going to go out in the woods and hunt. It's a very irresponsible mindset, especially, like I said, if you have a family, you have people looking to you to provide for them. It's really wrong to just have that mindset, because you actually have no idea what is going to be provided for you when you go into that wilderness. So just some things to think about, guys. I would like you to think about actual sustainable capabilities. So like of feeding your family. And you can feed your family in very small areas. When my husband and I lived on 1/3 of an acre, we had quail, we had microgreens, we had rabbits. Now the rabbits we didn't eat, but the rabbits were for our dogs, you know, dog food. But quail was very good for, you can grow a lot of quail or raise a lot of quail in a very small area. And microgreens, oh my gosh, you can grow a ton of vegetables and a ton of microgreens in a very small space. And so even if you're in a smaller area or a smaller house or apartment or whatnot, think about what you have space-wise and what you can do to help provide for your family should a bad scenario happen in your area. And of course, it's something that I hope never ever happens for anybody. But at the same time, you have to be realistic and look at the world around you and understand that things have changed and that we need to be mindful of that. So just some things to think about, guys. Don't have the mindset of you're just going to go in the woods and hunt. Hunting's not as easy as you think, especially if you've never been hunting before. So just some things to think about. If you do have any questions about homesteading, especially in small spaces, like I said, we've homesteaded in some much smaller spaces than what we're in right now. Please definitely feel free to drop them in the comments below, and I will be happy to answer any questions you have. And please, like always, be sure to subscribe, hit that bell for the notifications, so you know when my next videos are. Hope you'll have a great day. Bye.